Can you share with us a little bit about some of the approaches that you've taken over the years on funding, financing, and most importantly, delivering the value back to the benefactors of the automations that you've built?
But as you begin to potentially increase the use of the technology, and I'll give the example of RPA, what we ultimately went and did with one of my previous employers was to actually create a total cost of ownership. And to make that very relatable to the business, we basically said, look, that's the equivalent of the salary of the robot that you now have. And so it became a very easy way for a business to quickly comprehend, well, hang on a sec, I've got a robot here, its total cost of ownership, including its own real estate, right? Its little office space, which would be a little VDI, and its own, salary, which would be the software license, and its own ongoing costs, which would be the cloud computing, whatever you had. Its cost is, let's say, $8,000. Well, now you're comparing that total cost of ownership, the full comp of a robot versus a human that might be making $40,000. And now you've got a business case that's already beginning to develop, at least an early indication that, look, we should investigate further. What we also did, though, as a central group in one of the organizations I worked with, we put a little bit of extra into that cost of a robot. And we did that to kind of self-fund our own innovation and continuation of developing these bots. I've often said before that, look, the initial bot that you would get is an entry-level bot. But if you allow us to continue to upskill those bots, then I can give it eyes. I can give it the ability to look at a particular document and potentially extract data off it. If you want to take it a step further, I can give it ears to listen in on a customer service call, perhaps in the contact center, and be able to appreciate perhaps some of the nuances, the feelings, the emotion that's coming out, and guide a contact person. So we almost got to a point, we did get to a point where we were beginning to introduce, hey, you can have an entry-level bot for this price, or I can give you a slightly more intelligent bot that can read at this particular price point, and so on and so on. And in each case, there was a different price point for the particular bot, but at the same time, an easily comparable number to what perhaps the business was spending internally themselves to accomplish those tasks.
Well, and that becomes relatable because it's a common currency within the
Yes.
organization. And I've often referred to, this idea of a digital workforce or a robot army, whatever you want to call it, as a mini version of BPO because you're essentially outsourcing to your robot workforce. And if you think about it the same way, the labor arbitrage is an easy way to understand how it is that you're offsetting some of those pieces. Now, in your analogy, I love that. And we actually have a slide that talks about the ears and the eyes to kind of do that relatability. The new, right, is understanding that these robots have a bit of a brain, right? And that's where the AI comes into place. And it's that predictive or prescriptive churn that the robot is able to contribute to whatever decision because of experience or because of human intervention or because of us feeding data and patterns that it can then relate to. And, for those folks who are just now tapping into understanding what the power of AI is, it truly is as though you're computing the knowledge of a human, but at warp speed. A robot doesn't need to check its math. It doesn't need to check and see if that additional file, was entered correctly. It's going to enter, it's going to do, it's going to resolve everything that has been programmed to do, coded to do correctly, perfectly, accurately every time.